Have you ever looked at a small business and just wondered what separates the ones that are just kind of scraping by from the ones that absolutely take off? It's a question that keeps millions of entrepreneurs up at night. I mean, we all know it takes grit, right? And tons of hard work. But is there something else? A hidden factor? Well, that's what we're going to dig in today. We're going to explore the unseen engine that really powers small business growth.
First off, let's just state the obvious. Running a small business is ridiculously hard. You're not just the CEO. You're the head of marketing. You're the accountant. Sometimes you're even the janitor. It's this constant uphill battle against some very, very real challenges.
And a lot of the time, it feels like you're trying to climb a mountain with weights tied to your ankles. A 2020 study of what they call MSMEs in India, that's just micro, small, and medium-sized businesses, found the biggest weights are things you'd expect, stuff like poor cash flow, not having the marketing know-how to go up against the big guys, and that constant pressure to keep up with technology. It's exhausting.
Okay, so it's really easy to get discouraged looking at a list like that. But what if the key to getting past these problems isn't just about working harder, but about working smarter? Let's make this real. Let's look at a story of a business that was right on the brink of total failure.
So let me introduce you to Mascotas Nacional. It's a family-run toy and pet store down in Mexico. And they were in a situation that, honestly, way too many small business owners would recognize. Things were so bad, the owner's father summed it all up in just 3 little words.
We were fried. I mean, that's not some business school jargon, is it? That is the sound of absolute, total burnout. The pressure was suffocating, the future looked completely bleak, and the family itself was at its breaking point.
And this really shows you just how bad it got. They were drowning in 1.5 million pesos of debt. Every single cent that came in the door went straight back out to pay off that debt, which meant they couldn't even afford to buy new toys to stock their own shelves. Naturally, that financial stress blew up into some serious family conflict. They were positive they were going to have to shut the doors for good. And then something changed. A lifeline appeared. As part of a research study, they got 1 year of subsidized management consulting. Someone from the outside came in, took a look at their business, and helped them see the things they just couldn't see from the inside, you know?
And the result? Well, the very same person who said, "We were fried," later said this. It wasn't just helpful, it was extremely useful. They went from the edge of bankruptcy to actually surviving and even starting to thrive. So here's the million-dollar question. What on earth did that consultant actually do? Right? What was the secret sauce? Did they just get a big loan? A killer new marketing plan? What did they fix that turned the whole thing around? Well, the answer is surprisingly simple, but it's also incredibly profound. They didn't just fix one single problem, they helped them tune up the business's engine.
And this brings us right to the heart of it, this idea of the unseen growth engine. Now, the academics, they have a fancy name for it, market-based capabilities. It sounds complicated, I know, but the idea is actually pretty simple. The real source of your competitive advantage isn't just what you sell, it's how you operate.
So what are these capabilities? Simply put, they're not your physical stuff, like your machines or your inventory. They're these bundles of skills and knowledge. Think of them like the internal systems, the organizational DNA, that let a business consistently do things better than its rivals. It's the secret sauce that's really, really hard for competitors to just copy.
We can actually break this engine down into 3 core processes. First up, new product development, how you actually create the stuff your customers want. Second, customer management, how you find, keep, and grow your relationship with those customers. And third, supply chain management, how you efficiently get the materials you need to make your product. And when these 3 things are working together, in harmony, man, that's when you create some serious value.
So let's make this super concrete. Tuning your new product development, that could just mean bringing your best customers into the design process. For customer management, it might be having that aha moment that, hey, 80% of our profit comes from 20% of our customers, so let's focus on them. And for your supply chain, it could be as simple as sharing your sales forecast with your suppliers so they can plan ahead. See, these aren't crazy revolutionary ideas, but they are fundamental improvements to your process.
Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, right? But does improving these internal things actually work in the messy real world? Well, let's look at the hard data from that very same study that gave us the story of Mascotas Nacional.
So the researchers ran a proper randomized controlled trial. They took 432 small and medium businesses in Mexico and split them into 2 groups. It was a classic setup. One group, the treatment group, got that year of consulting that was aimed at improving these exact capabilities. The other, control group, They got nothing. This scientific approach lets us really isolate the true impact of the consulting.
So, what happened? The researchers circled back 2 to 3 years later to check on the long-term effects, and the results? They weren't just positive, they were absolutely dramatic, especially when it came to one of the most important things for any economy: jobs.
Get this, the companies that got the consulting, the ones that tuned up their internal engines, had 44% more employees than the companies that didn't. Just let that sink in for a second. This wasn't a government stimulus check. This was the result of simply getting better at running the business. Better management directly led to more hiring. It's incredible.
And it gets even better. The total amount of money paid in wages at these companies went up by 57%. So not only were they hiring more people, but they were pumping significantly more money back into the local economy through salaries. That is growth you can actually see and feel in a community.
But what about the bottom line for the business owner? Let's look at return on assets. It's just a way of measuring how efficiently a company uses its stuff to make a profit. And as you can see, the control group was barely breaking even, a return of just 1%. But the treatment group, a staggering 17%. They became 17 times more profitable just by getting their internal processes in order.
Okay, so the evidence is pretty clear. Investing in your company's internal engine pays off in a huge, huge way. So the question is, how can you, as a manager or an owner, start building your own engine without having to hire a full-time consultant?
Well, a great way to start is just by asking a few key questions. For your customers, are you treating everyone the same, or are you really focusing on the ones who bring the most value? For product development, is your R&D team even talking to your sales team? For your supply chain, is it just a transaction with your suppliers, or is it a true partnership? And don't forget the basics. Are you investing in your people with training? Are you planning for the future with an annual budget? The research found that almost 80% of small businesses don't. That's a huge opportunity.
So at the end of the day, the big takeaway is this. Getting out of that daily grind of running a small business isn't just about putting in more hours or hoping to find one magic customer. It's about taking a step back and methodically, deliberately improving the internal processes that drive everything you do. It really is all about building a better, more efficient engine.
And that brings us to the final question, the one I want you to take with you. Looking at your own business, or maybe the one you're dreaming of building, which part of that engine, your product development, your customer management, or your supply chain, needs the most attention right now? Because answering that honestly might just be the first step to unlocking real, sustainable growth.